Hare Krishna, welcome to the symposium. Kaunteya Prabhu currently serves in many capacities as a co-minister for Congregation Development Ministry, also the co-chair for Organizational Development Committee, bringing in various important recommendations for the gypsy body. Kaunteya Prabhu, I'd not like to eat into your time for the presentation too much. Over to you for the symposium on this very important topic of training, education for spiritual masters, Guru. Thank you.
Thank you, Tapamishra Prabhu. Let me share my screen. So, preparation for future gurus. We'll talk about three things. First, that ideally, every devotee should become guru, should become a teacher, preceptor. That was the spirit of Lord Chaitanya, and that was the explicit desire of Srila Prabhupada, as we will see. Next, being a guru, three sociological approaches, and how do they apply to ISKCON. And third, we'll give a brief analysis of a recent GBC resolution on preparing gurus. So let's start with a series of quotes from Srila Prabhupada. There are many more, actually. These are all chronological, and they should demonstrate that Srila Prabhupada wanted all of his disciples and all his future followers to take this responsibility to become guru. I won't get into the details of Shiksha Guru, Diksha Guru, because a Diksha Guru is simply a Shiksha Guru who formally accepts disciples, giving them the names and so on. I wish that in my absence, all my disciples become the bona fide spiritual masters. So Srila Prabhupada was saying this as early as 67. Maybe by 1975, all of my disciples will be allowed to initiate and increase the numbers of the generation. So he had this vision in 69 that within 6 years, all the devotees will be allowed to accept disciples. There's an exchange here. Mohsin Hassan asks, after you, is it any decision has been made who will take over? Prabhupada, yes, all of them will take over. The students who are initiated from me, all of them will act as I'm doing. All these disciples which I'm making, initiating, they're being trained to become future spiritual masters. Whoever is initiated is competent to make disciples. 1971. Treya Rishi asks, does a spiritual master have to be designated by the former spiritual master? Srila Prabhupada, so far designation is concerned, the spiritual master authorizes every one of his disciples. But it is up to the disciple to carry out the order. 1972. Every student is expected to become acharya. Acharya means one who knows the scriptural injunctions and follows them practically in life and teaches them to his disciples. I want to see my disciples become bona fide spiritual master and spread Krishna consciousness very widely. That will make me and Krishna very happy. This is a letter from 1975. We require hundreds and thousands of gurus, but not cheaters. This is the time when requires hundreds and thousands of gurus, 1976. There are many more quotes. I just selected a few, but I hope they're enough for you to get the idea. Srila Prabhupada wanted, desired, wished that all his disciples will take this responsibility. Ideally, obviously. They will need to be sincere, they will need to be serious, they will need to have a minimum of seniority, of experience, but that's certainly Srila Prabhupada's desire. So being a guru, 3 sociological approaches, 3 environments, 3 cultural setups or mental models. The first is the village guru, a guru active in a very limited, circumscribed situation. Second is the math approach, more organized, but we are going to see still quite insulated. And number 3 is the university approach, a single institution, but with many professors and possibly thousands of students. So let's see. First of all, village guru. Imagine a village in India, it's a small place, and the guru necessarily will have just a few disciples. This will be the diagram: 1 guru, 1 teacher, and a few disciples, 7, 8, 10, 20. The scope is limited, the environment is limited. And this model is also limited because often what happens, the succession is through seminal lines. The guru has a son, or in Bengal, a daughter also. And then the son or the daughter becomes the next guru. And so the disciplic succession continues like this. And this is a little shaky, it's a little dangerous because there is no quality control. It's very easy that the teachings and the standards become contaminated. The chain gets broken. So the village guru approach is quite limited in space, in time, and also in quality. Then the math approach. Why this silence? Because that's the idea of the math approach. There is one institution, it can have one temple, one ashram, or many more, but generally, with a few notable exceptions, but generally there is one guru. And each math is independent. Each math is separate. For instance, you have a monastery, you have a temple, you have an establishment, and in each of these establishments there is a guru, represented by the dot at the top, but they are all like silos. Some of the dots inside represent disciples, can be godbrothers of the guru, and there are different levels of experience, seniority, knowledge, but each mat is its own silos. Therefore, there is a lack of cross-pollination. There's a lack of variety. The mat generally becomes attractive only to a particular set of people. And also, same issue as with the village guru approach, there is a very high level of danger to contaminate the teachings, to compromise the standards. Some mat may decide to initiate with 16 rounds, some mats with 8 rounds, some mats with 4 rounds, some mats with 1 round, some mats with no round. And they're independent. So there's not really an overarching quality control. Also, when somebody wants to become a guru and start initiating their own disciples, generally they have to split from the mat. Imagine this to devotees who are good brothers of the guru. Now they also want to be the guru, so they have to go and create their own mat. So fragmentation is implicit, is designed in the system. And fragmentation brings a weakness to the mission of Lord Chaitanya. Now let's see the university approach, which is ostensibly ISKCON's approach. The university is one institute, one institution. It can have different branches, it can have hundreds of teachers in some cases, and can have thousands of students, but is one institution. This is a photo from the latest SGGS, the Sangha of Gurus, GBCs and Sannyasis, held in Mayapur in 2019. And it's a picture of different spiritual leaders, most of them initiating spiritual masters, all of them Shiksha Gurus, who come together to discuss the future of the movement and other relevant topics. So this is the image of shared leadership. Now, while facilitating personal guidance and mentorship through individual Shiksha and Diksha relations, the university approach offers the widest variety of Shiksha in terms of styles, in terms of expertise. There will be the Guru very absorbed in deity worship. There will be the Guru very absorbed in Sanskrit grammar and Shastra. There will be the Guru very absorbed in outreach and festivals and so on. So, following the analogy of the university, there will be personal mentors, and these personal mentors will be different by department, by subject, by gender. So according to the needs of the disciple/students, there will be a mentor, there will be a tutor, there will be a teacher. Now, this offers the widest network of support for the students, the disciples. Every devotee in ISKCON can have so much inspiration from so many spiritual guides. And this VIPLAVAH symposium is an example of that. We are here to hear from so many devotees from all over the world. Now, the system also allows for quality control, because if there is something wrong in the behavior of a teacher, the university will step in. So similarly, if there is a deviation in teachings or in behavior, the institution of ISKCON can step in. So, thousands of students, even of different subjects, take advantage of the presence and the teachings of a number of professors of the spiritual science. In a university, every student can become a professor through standard training and certification. It's not a seminal thing that because your father is a guru, you become a guru. There are laws in the country, laws in the university itself. There are rules, there are exams. But everyone can potentially become a teacher. Similarly, in ISKCON, ideally, every disciple can and should prepare to become a preceptor. And this is a bit of a graphic summary. Let's say, starting from the bottom, those are new devotees, people who come to Krishna consciousness. Within the trapezoid figure, those are all initiated devotees. You see a different level of seniority, different levels of experience. Imagine this moving up. And let's say the first row within the trapezoid is it's initiated devotees. And then the second line are second initiated devotees. And the third lines are the second initiated devotees who have experience giving shelter, counsel, shiksha. At one point, there is an appointment to give actual initiation to the people they're cultivating, they're guiding. And within the category of gurus, of course, there are different levels of experience. There are the gurus who are initiating devotees since more than 40 years. And there are the gurus who are initiating devotees since maybe 6 months. So the person continues. It's an ongoing process of purification. It's an ongoing process of learning how to do the service. And of course, this is under Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya. That position is taken. Nobody can become the founder Acharya, but he has created the system. So there was a GBC resolution passed last month, presently under Sabha review. It should be a formality, but let's see what the Sabha comes up with. I do not have the time to go through all the whereases. You will get this PowerPoint, and so you can study in detail if you like. So there are the whereases, the reasons why this resolution was necessary. Let's see the resolution itself. It is hereby resolved that the governing body commission of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness accepts and supports the following principles for preparing devotees to act in the role of gurus. All devotees, especially after taking sacred initiation, are encouraged to undergo systematic training to become qualified to act as spiritual preceptors. The program shall include, we don't have time to go to the details, but basically there are 4 areas: Shastric knowledge, personal development, dealing with one's own challenges and purification, dealing with disciples, aspiring disciples, and 4th, dealing in a multi-guru system, dealing harmoniously within the organization of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So, to facilitate participation and completion, the training program should be self-paced and include a blend of online and in-person training. Some people will take 5 years, some people will take 10 years, some people will take 15 or 20 years, self-paced. And of course, there will have to be a lot of online training, presentations, and examination, but there must be also some in-person mentorship. The Guru Services Committee, the GBC College for Leadership Development, and the ISKCON Board of Examinations shall collaborate in drafting and defining the curriculum, which shall be submitted to the GBC for approval before implementation. The curriculum shall include ongoing training and support for those serving as Shiksha and Diksha gurus. Now, these 3 entities are the first one who committed to this project, but of course, we welcome any qualified input from other ministries, or to speak of the Ministry of Education, and any other serious devotee who wants to participate in this. After an interim period, whose length and parameters shall be defined separately, such a training program shall become a mandatory prerequisite for commencing the service of an initiating spiritual master. In other words, this curriculum has to be developed. Of course, a lot will be using things which are courses and training which are already existing, but the curriculum has to be developed, has to be approved by the GBC. And this proposal includes that there will be an interim period before this course is ready, in which devotees who may be ready right now to become gurus, there will be certain prerequisites to start initiating. So, this is the basic overview. Hare Krishna, thank you. And for more info, especially in the future, this is the email of the secretary of the GBC College, Lalita Manjari Devi, who has kindly agreed to coordinate communication. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. So the first question is, I'm feeling incompetent. Where and how do I submit for training as a guide?
Okay, just to clarify, this particular training is not available right now, but there's so much training available, just like this symposium. And just like Srila Prabhupada was saying, we are training all devotees to become spiritual masters. Every Bhagavatam class, every time you study the books, every time you chant your japa, every time you listen from seniors or peers, you're preparing to become a spiritual guide. So formally or informally, the whole ISKCON is meant to teach us to give shelter and instructions to others and to purify ourselves.
Thank you. Next question. What are your views on this idea which is talked about many a times in the scriptures for this yet another model of appointment of gurus, which is a self-effulgent guru? How does that fit into your models of gurus?
Well, frankly speaking, I don't know which Shastra you are talking about or which Sanskrit words would translate with self-effulgent guru. Somebody may be self-effulgent or effulgent for somebody, and somebody else may not see that effulgence. Just like many people didn't see the effulgence of Srila Prabhupada, many people didn't see the effulgence of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So I frankly doubt that's a Shastric concept at all.
Right. So the other way this question could be phrased is non-institutionalized spiritual masters.
Frankly, I don't know what institutionalized spiritual master means. Gaudiya Vaishnavism has always been, in one sense, institutionalized, at least from the time of the Goswamis. We know the story of Shyamananda Pandit. There was a big uproar in Bengal when people thought that Jiva Goswami had reinitiated him. And so dozens of Mahants, dozens of spiritual leaders traveled to Vrindavan at that time to just solve the situation. So the spirit of Gaudiya Vaishnava, the spirit of Gaudiya Vaishnavism is to do things together and to intervene when there is a deviation within the family. So Gaudiya Vaishnavism is synonymous with institutionalized management of the message and of the transmission of the message.
Thank you,
Srila Prabhupada certainly created this International Society for Krishna Consciousness under a governing body commission. He established, for instance, that the GBC should establish the standards for becoming sannyasis, the standards for becoming Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhava, Bhakti Vedanta, Bhakti Sarvabhauma. And certainly it's part of the duty of the GBC to establish standards to become a spiritual master. There is a very important concept that we need to be very clear about. In civilized societies, when your job can hurt others, then the state, the government, makes sure that you are qualified. Say you are a doctor, say you are a dentist, say you are even an accountant, say you are a lawyer. Your mistakes can cost enormously to your clients. They can go to jail. If they are a lawyer and you don't do properly your work, you can kill a patient if you're not a proper doctor. So a civilized society establishes norms so that you can be qualified to give shelter to others. And it's a process, it's a gradual process. For instance, to give an example, in the United States of America, it only became obligatory to go to a medicine course before becoming a doctor only around the 1870s. So up to the 1870s, so basically under 50 years ago, anybody could perform surgery without any type of certification, without any type of official training. So in ISKCON, we are relatively a young movement. We have been producing spiritual masters, and some of them have been doing marvelously. At the same time, we want to have a certification, we want to have preparation, and we, as the resolution pointed out, we want to have ongoing training. We don't subscribe to the idea that the day you start doing this service as a guru, now you reach the Turiya, you reach the fourth dimension, and now you're beyond the beyond and you cannot learn anymore. That's a very artificial idea. So training before becoming a guru, even formal Diksha guru, and training, ongoing training after you become a guru.
Thank you. Very, very important initiative, very important topic. Very glad to hear from you what is being undertaken now. The devotees here are encouraged to participate in this. If you feel inspired, please connect with Kaunteya Prabhu and the secretary of the GBC College if you like to participate in this effort. There is another question from Krishnendu Prabhu, which I request you can take offline with Krishnendu Prabhu, maybe send a chat. His question is it up to the GBC to authorize, in brackets, open rubber stamp brackets closed, who can be a guru? Can't the aspiring disciples decide for themselves who to get initiated by? So I request you to have that discussion on the chat or in our post-symposium networking session. So I am going to, in a few minutes, before you all leave, I'm going to post a link. If you're interested to get together in an informal way after this symposium, please click on that link and then you can join us there for a little informal discussion on topics that you like, or if you like to ask anything about the Ministry of Education, it's also like an open forum that you can ask me questions with respect to that. One point of clarification, Kaunteya Prabhu, the ISKCON Board of Examinations is a part of the Ministry of Education. It is clearly a part of the Ministry of Education. So to that degree, the Ministry of Education is involved in this effort a little bit. We'll be glad to get more involved in whatever capacity. As you know, the ministries in ISKCON are not staffed with hundreds of devotees. It's mostly thin. But if there is any which way we can assist in this effort, like through the symposium or through our marketing channels to reach out to the educators, it will be our pleasure.
You're most welcome, and thank you for your offer.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Kaunteya Prabhu.